And for more on that, we're joined by Mr. Jason Unruhe, political commentator and analyst. Welcome to the program, Mr. Unruhe. So we see another case of police officers' brutality is going without being charged, and the police are seemingly getting away with it. Why isn't there any prosecution?
Generally speaking, there is no prosecution because, despite what many may think, it's one of their own. This is the function that is required by the bourgeois state to keep the public pacified. And one of the things they do is repress minority groups due to their disenfranchised position within American society. And this is the function that they want them to do. This is what they are supposed to do. They're supposed to suppress the population. So it goes counter to their interests to just simply prosecute their own soldiers, as it were, anytime that they do something that contravenes their own description of what is the law. And this is a very big fundamental contradiction within, at least American police services in general, in that they are there to, quote, serve the public, yet their very purpose is actually to control the public. Even going back into the history of why the police were even formed in the United States, that was generally just to keep a lid on worker strikes or organizations, but it was found to be such an effective tool for controlling the public in general that they decided to keep it on as a permanent part of society.
Right. You mentioned public, they want to control the public, but there has been public outrage against what they call police brutality in the U.S. But why is it still carrying on?
It's carrying on because the American public hasn't done yet enough to hold the police accountable for what they're doing. It's going to take a very broad, very powerful movement that is not limited to one racial group, a la Black Lives Matter, because this is, while it disproportionately affects Black Americans, it does affect all Americans in general to one degree or another. It's going to take a collective effort by the American people in general in order to suppress this kind of violence that's being used against them. However, since it is disproportionately used against Black Americans, it tends to be a very racial connotation to the entire struggle, and that is to exclude white people from the struggle in general, or Asians, or even people based on religious background. And this lack of unity among the American public against what is essentially their own oppressors is leading to a fractured response that is not as powerful as it could be if they were totally united.
Right. You mentioned excluding white people. This discrimination against the Black and institutional racism is nothing new in the U.S. But how do you think it's going to be under this administration?
Oh, I suspect that there's largely not going to be much of a change. A lot of what Barack Obama gave was very fluff speeches, but nothing substantial actually took place. Despite being an African-American man himself, he still had a very privileged class position where he would not face as much of the kind of police misconduct that poor blacks receive. And I think, given the fact that even Obama himself didn't do much to change anything, I sincerely doubt that Trump will do anything to change either. I mean, it doesn't take much of a political analyst to see the tremendous racist streak that that runs right through the entire Trump administration. So I sincerely doubt his administration would do anything to change the situation. If anything, what we've seen from American society is that many more racists are emboldened by the election of Donald Trump. And I don't see that as being some kind of exception to police officers. I'm sure their racism would be emboldened as well.
All right. Thank you very much. From Ontario, Jason Unruhe, political commentator and analyst.